Nursing home nightmare, stories from my life. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. So I've been sharing different bits and pieces from my life, stories from my life, and I don't know if I've shared this one before. Some of them I'm doing repeats because I have so many new people on my channels. And so, my stories are very much worth repeating. And we all have stories within us, and I love to hear other people's stories as well. Sometimes my stories are very lighthearted, and other times some of my stories are more, have a more serious tone to them, a more serious edge. So this story goes back to when my mom came to live with us. She had developed Parkinson's disease and ALS, and both were very debilitating. So we brought her from California through Texas. We were moving at the time and moving back to Georgia, to a town that we had not, lived in before. So we weren't familiar with it. And so my mom still had California insurance by the time she got to Georgia. And so she was having constant falling down because her muscles were weak. And so she ended up in the hospital. Well, she was so weak in the hospital because the Parkinson's was just ravishing her body. And so what happened at that point, they decided that it would be best for her to go into a nursing rehab situation for a little while before returning home, so she didn't, continue to fall down. And so what basically happened is, because she was on California insurance at the time, she was just brand new to Georgia, we could not find a nursing home that would accept her insurance. And so basically what they did was the hospital was trying to get her out of there. So they found a nursing home in a big city near where we lived. And it was just an awful, awful, awful nursing home, because I had gone over there to check it out first. And it was the only nursing home that would accept her. And so I went back and I said, this is unacceptable. I will not put my mother into this nursing home. And they said, well, we don't care. We're going to do it anyhow. So my children were really small at the time. They were 6, 7, and 8, and I was homeschooling them. So they were with me all the time. And I was driving all over Georgia literally driving all over Georgia looking for a nursing home that could take my mother based upon California insurance. But I hadn't found one yet. And so the hospital was determined to get rid of my mother out of that hospital and put her anywhere that they could, find a nursing home that would take her. And so I got to the point that I went to the congressman's office, but he really wouldn't see me. And because he wasn't there, but I got as far as his receptionist, and they really couldn't help me. And then I contacted the newspaper. And later I was to contact the senator, but I got the wrong senator. He had already retired. So nonetheless, I let the hospital know that I had done these things. Now, they didn't know that I got the wrong senator. All they saw was the email to the senator. And they must have not knew who the senator really was, whoever was reading it, because if they had paid attention, they would have saw that I had sent the wrong senator, the email about my mother, this hospital trying to put my mother in a nursing home that, was terrible. And I never heard back from the senator. I never heard back from the congressman, and I never heard back from the newspaper. And yet, because I did, I contacted and made it more of a public situation, I got notice right away. So when I went back to the hospital, they called me into the boardroom, and with my 3 little kids, and they each had a balloon in their hand, and my 3 children and I sat at this big boardroom table across from these people in suits and ties, and there's probably 6 or 7 or 8 of them. And I simply said, you're not moving my mother. And I've gone to the congressman, which I did, and not that they helped me. And I went and I contacted the senator, which I let them know. I showed them the email, which the senator never helped me. And I contacted a newspaper, but never heard anything back. But I didn't tell them that. And when they heard that, they said, okay, we'll give you more time. And so it bought me enough time to continue to drive all around Georgia. And I got lost one day with my 3 children in the backseat of the car with their Happy Meals, and they were all happy, coloring in their coloring books. And I saw a nursing rehab center. And I went in and I said, would you please accept my mom? And she's got California insurance. And they said that they would accept my mom. And I was so, so happy. And so fast forward a couple days, I had to wait a couple days, and the hospital gave me that time. At that point, they would not have given me that time had I not stood up and said, hey, this is unacceptable. A lot of people would have just let them do whatever they were going to do, but the nursing home that they were going to send my mom was a terrible nursing home, and probably one that should not have even been opened. It was just terrible. And there are some nursing homes that are better than others, and I wasn't going to put my mom in something like that. So ultimately, my mom went to this nursing home that I found. It was like an hour and a half away, so I would have to drive back and forth twice a day on back roads and to go see my mom to make sure she was being well taken care of. Because one thing is, when someone goes to a nursing home or a hospital, they really, really need the presence of an advocate. And I was there for my mom as her advocate. And finally, when she was well enough and strong enough, I brought her back home with me. And I brought her back home with me until she could no longer live with me again, when the ALS had gotten so bad that her body began, she couldn't walk anymore, she couldn't sit up anymore. And at that point, I found a nursing home closer to home, and within, like a 15-minute drive. And so I was able to go back and forth several times a day to make sure she was getting the kind of care that she needed. And so, that nursing home nightmare was the part where they were just going to dump her anywhere that they could, in any nursing home that was really not a good place. And I had to stand up, even with my 3 little kids with me, with balloons and Happy Meals, and going into a boardroom, sitting across from all these people that were very stoic and all formally dressed. And there I was in my mom outfit, with my 3 little kids. And but I said, no, you can't do this. I'm not going to let you do this. I'm not going to let you just dump my mother somewhere. She deserves better than that. And I'm here to stand up for her. And I was her advocate. And so, but I did let them know that I had contacted these people, these offices, for help. Even though none of those offices helped me, I was at least there, and I, tried to get their help. And just the fact that I had been there was enough to let the hospital know that they better listen to me, because they didn't want any, congressman calling their hospital, or any senator or any newspaper calling and writing a story on it. And most certainly it would have been a good story, because, I think that sometimes hospitals will try to just rush people out, not all, but some. And that's what they were trying to do with my mom. They were just trying to find any place that they could put her. And I wasn't going to let that. My mom was my mom. I love my mom, and I wanted her to have the best of care. So it bought me enough time where I could find her a nursing home that was a decent one, where she could stay until she got better enough to come back home to live with me. And so my mom passed, about 2 years after the initial nursing home episode. And the ALS and the Parkinson's was just overwhelming to her body. But I was there all along the way as her advocate, and I loved her, and I watched over her, and I made sure that she had what she needed. And sometimes, we have to speak up. And sometimes we need the support of other people. I'm not recommending anybody call their congressman or senator because someone's, their mom's going to a nursing home, but I didn't know what else to do, so I contacted them to see if they could help me, with this issue. Now, unfortunately, they didn't help me, but just the fact that I contacted them and the hospital was aware that I had contacted them was enough for the hospital to slow down the process enough where I could get my mom into a decent setting. And that's what I did, okay? So that's another story from my life. And I hope you like, share, subscribe. And I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.